She continues following me after I've begun walking again, only this time from a few meters away. After setting the bags down on the counter, we begin sorting through the various ingredients and packets. Do you normally help Yuri cook whenever the two of you eat together? Not really, she usually has everything almost finished by the time I get there. Oh, and here I thought I was a slacker. I already said it's not like that. She might make all the food, but I'm the one who always does dishes. So all your training in home ec room actually pays off, huh? It actually worries me how much of it has become muscle memory. Yeah, at least dishwashing is a useful skill. I bent over before pulling a skillet and some other pots out of a drawer. Natsuki stares silently as I covered the countertop with various pieces of cookware. You need something? Not really. But wasn't bringing up Yuri your way of asking for help? Huh? We both look at each other puzzled for a moment. What gave you that impression? You asked if I ever helped her cook while setting pans in front of me. What was I supposed to think? I mean, that wasn't my intention, but if you're willing to lend a hand, I'd be grateful. A grin quickly spreads across Natsuki's face. Yeah, you better be. It's not every day you get to cook with a master. Yeah, go ahead and pass me the vegetables. Oh, and where do you keep the knives? First drawer on your left. There should also be a cutting board in the cabinet underneath. Got it. Having switched to her serious kitchen mode, Natsuki lines up the carrots, garlic and onion before skillfully chopping into them. While she's occupied with those, I place the chicken into a skillet and begins searing it over a stove high. Even with the calm atmosphere currently surrounding us, a knot still begins forming in my stomach as the true reason she's here comes to mind. This paranoia isn't getting me anywhere. The chances of there being an actual problem are slim, but still. You seem quite familiar with this kind of thing. Do you ever do the cooking at your house? The repeated chopping noise stemmed from her direction stops abruptly. Something like that. I see. Well, I guess that's not too unusual. So Yuri often helps her mom prepare ingredients, and even Yuri mentioned aiding her parents in the kitchen. Several seconds pass in silence as she stares blankly at the cutting board. When she does finally respond, it comes in a much lower tone of voice. What about you? You live alone, right? Haven't you ever had problems cooking for yourself? Sure, plenty of times. Seriously? Is that surprising? Is it that surprising? I guess not. Just didn't expect you to actually admit to being bad at something. One of the detriments of being perfect. More like a detriment of being a massive dork. The tension in my abdomen eases up some as she grins following this retort. Well, my flawed personality aside, my experience with cooking started with me being thrown into the deep end, so to speak. At the time, my only real choices were either learn to prepare my own food or risk going hungry. Really? What happened? That's a complicated story. Sorry, I didn't mean to put you on the spot. No worries. The feeling of tightness in my stomach begins shifting up towards my chest as old memories begin flashing before me. As I was saying, there were many instances where the meals I attempted to make ended up being barely edible, either from the taste or the texture. Come to think of it, maybe that's why my palate isn't as picky as most people's. But aren't you the one who said cooking was just following instructions? Yeah, however I was a dumb brat back then, my skills were subpar at best, even with instructions. This probably won't come as a surprise, but I've never been particularly talented at any one thing, cooking included. Talented, huh? Does that really make a difference? I mean, isn't working hard and improving at something good enough? Doesn't calling a person talented usually just ignore all the effort they've put in? Hey, why are you grinning all of a sudden? It's creepy. No, sorry. Listening to you just reminded me of myself when I was younger. Are you trying to call me a kid? More like admitting I really am an old man. Huh? Well, you might be right about talented being a blanket statement that largely ignores a person's efforts. There are some instances where it couldn't be more true. Like when? Does anyone come to mind when you think the word prodigy or genius? Monika maybe? That's a good answer. Even though Monika puts in a lot of work behind the scenes, I've heard she's still able to excel at anything she tries. For example, if you gave her 2 weeks to properly learn about baking, do you think she'd be able to do it as well as you? She averts her eyes, giving me a good idea of her answer. Well, the little people like us have to try and fail for potentially months. There will always be someone out there who can execute the same task flawlessly without hardly trying. Sounds pretty unfair. Hey, you've got that right. All we can do is keep struggling in an attempt to move forward. All while trying not to think about how easy those unfair people have it. You supposed to be some kind of philosopher now? Not quite. I'm just aware of how utterly generic my abilities are in the grand scheme of things. A soft smile soon spreads across her face. Well, you must be doing something right. I mean, as much as Sayori sings your praises, and then there's all the nice stuff Yuri says. Calling Sayori biased would be an understatement, and Yuri's too kind to actually talk negatively about someone. Dummy! Huh? Glancing away, I see Natsuki's face is now bright red. It's not like I hate you either. Her sudden honesty leaves me completely dumbfounded. I mean, stop looking so depressed already. Who cares whether you're talented or not? You've got the club, and all of us. The pain in my chest grows fainter as her voice slowly trails off. Sorry, I didn't realize I'm bringing down the mood. And thanks, Natsuki. Whatever, just don't get the wrong idea or anything. Yeah, if you say so. The tension in the room dissipates after a few minutes, leaving me with a Natsuki who is standing around awkwardly not doing anything. Could you fill up the rice cooker for me? It should be empty. Right, no problem. She grabs a bag of rice off the counter as I begin pouring broth into the skillet. After several more minutes of waiting and small talk, the food is finally ready. Does Yuri normally serve the rice and curry separately or together? She poured the curry over the rice last time, but either way is fine with me. Not a picky eater, huh? I like that in a woman. Stop trying to make things weird. Apologies. Deciding to serve them separately, I pull 2 plates out of the cabinet and begin loading them up. Feel free to get seconds if this isn't enough. We've still got plenty left over. The 2 of us take a seat once all the dishes have been laid out. Finally, Natsuki quickly begins devouring her meal, in a way best described as unladylike, which only causes me to fret over my thoughts even more. Is it good? Yeah, it's actually a lot like Yuri's, though that shouldn't be a surprise. She's a stickler for following instructions and recipes too. Great minds think alike. Yeah, right. What part of being perverted makes yours great? She gets this last jab in before returning to her plate. Her appetite seems healthy enough, while scarfing meals down can be a sign of bulimia. She definitely doesn't give off that impression. This is all assuming there really is something wrong with her and I'm not just losing my mind. Malnourishment maybe, that was my first instinct. And they say always go with your gut, which sounds like a shitty pun given the circumstances. Why am I even entertaining these ideas anyways? Sure, she may be on the petite side, but there aren't any glaring issues with appearance or behavior. Still, something about this just doesn't sit right with me. Dinner with Yuri, rushing to school for breakfast, asking to use the home ec room. Would you stop that already? Her voice brings me back to reality, where I see a red-faced Natsuki leaning over an empty plate. Staring at me like that is really creepy, and you haven't even eaten anything. You sick or something? No, not exactly. I've just been thinking about you is all. Thinking about me? What's that supposed to mean? I guess this is my best chance to make a move. There's no guarantee we'll ever be alone together in a private space again. There's actually something serious I'd like to ask you, Natsuki. Is that okay? Her face grows even brighter, and she soon begins waving her hands in front of herself. Hold on, why do you look so serious all of a sudden? Is this She looks at me expectantly while stumbling over her words. After spending so much time together, I feel as though the 2 of us have grown a lot closer, which has me wonder if there is anything you've wanted to say to me. Something you may not have had the courage to bring up before. Me? Wait, you're putting this on me? Sorry, I know forcing you to make the first move is spineless of me, but I'm afraid our relationship will end up damaged if I were the one who said it. Relationship? Her eyes grow wide as blood continues rushing to her face. Honestly, you're such a coward. I apologize. I give Natsuki my full attention and she begins bracing herself. Fine, all I have to do is say it, right? I like you! That's not what I meant, Natsuki. She shouts this while tightly gripping the edge of the table. Huh? My brain function grinds to an abrupt halt as I'm met with this new and unexpected information. Apparently noticing we're in two different wavelengths, Natsuki looks at me. You were going to confess, right? That's what you were too afraid to say? Well, no, not exactly. Her face practically ignites as tears begin forming in the corners of her eyes. You set me up! You were just trying to make fun of me! Wait, that's not— I hate you! Wiping her face, Natsuki shoots up from her chair and heads straight for the front door. Hold on! A confession was the last thing on my mind, and now look at what's happened. How are you even supposed to deal with this situation like this? Entering the entranceway, she's sliding on her shoes. My body acts before my brain has time to come up with a proper solution. Huh? Stepping past her, I wedge myself between Natsuki and the door. Get out of the way! Sorry, but I'm afraid I can't do it. I'm sorry, Natsuki. I'm afraid I can't let you do that. If you were to storm out right now, there's no doubt I'd regret letting you go. Her guard drops for a brief moment when she hears this, but it's quickly put back up. And what's that supposed to mean? I don't need you trying to make me feel better. Good, because I had no intention of doing so. Ugh. Hearing a confession was the last thing on my mind, but now that it's out in the open like this, there's only one option for me. Only one way to ensure my comfortable interactions with her can continue. Natsuki, what? I like you too. Quite a lot, actually. Her eyes go wide as she's presented with my honest feelings. That said, I'm not sure if it's the type of romantic feeling that exists between couples. I've mentioned this before, but my understanding of relationships is subpar on a good day. But if you're okay with it, I'd like to explore this feeling more and see where it leads. Having received an answer more complicated than she was anticipating, Natsuki stands silent for a moment. So, what? What do you mean by that? I accept your confession and want to date you. That's... Are you against it? After a brief silence, she begins shaking her head. Of course not, dummy. I see. And sorry for giving you the wrong idea earlier. I never intended to make you feel bad. Honestly, how could you say all that and not knowing how it sounds? Maybe I'm really as dense as everyone else. Everyone says. Obviously. But if you weren't confessing, what were you talking about? Well, that's something we can discuss later. For right now, figuring out what exactly we are seems more fitting. What do you mean? Guess my main question would be, are we a couple now? Shouldn't you at least know that much? You just how clueless are you? Incredibly so. And I'll take your fidgeting as a yes? Are you happy? Are you happy about dating me? Should I not be? How should I know? It's just... What's wrong, your face? My face? Sorry, being ugly is one of the things you kind of just have to live with. You know that's not what I meant. Then would you mind telling me what makes you think it wouldn't be... I wouldn't be happy? Jeez, I don't know. Because you look the same, I guess. Just like you always do. I can never tell what you're thinking. Seemingly disheartened, her gaze drifts towards the floor. I see. May I borrow your hand for a moment? Huh? My hand? That's right, it won't take long. What are you planning to do with taking hold of her wrist? I bring up arm, her arm, towards me before placing her hand against my chest. You may not have realized earlier with everything going on, but I've been like this for a while now. Her eyes grow wide as she feels my heart racing. Tell me, Natsuki. Is this what it means to be aroused? As though she's flipped the switch, Natsuki immediately jumps backwards, nearly tripping into the hallway as she does. What the hell are you talking about? Sorry, I'm just not good with heavy moods. Figured mentioning my libido would lighten things up. She glares at me totally dumbfounded for a moment before letting out a sigh and rubbing her temples. You really suck at this, you know? Shouldn't that have been obvious from the start? Now come on, there's still a lot of curry left. You can seriously eat after all this? Wasting food is a sinful thing, and I prefer to keep my next confession relatively short. Ugh. Even though she sounds totally exhausted, Natsuki doesn't wait long before following me into the kitchen. For all her grumbling and exasperated sighs, Natsuki still has no problem polishing off a second plate. Watching this reignites my concerns over her health, but with what just happened, now it doesn't seem like the most appropriate time to press for answers. Phew, I'm stuffed. Thanks for the food, Mark. You're kinda staring again. Oh, sorry, I was just wondering how to respond. What do you mean? We're a couple now, right? Doesn't that mean I should act differently? Don't think about it so much, otherwise you'll make things awkward. Her rekindled fidgeting serves as a testament of these words. I'll make a note. So, do you have any other advice? Why are you asking me? Should I not? Well, this is all new to me too, you know. You never dated before? She shakes her head. There was the usual pretend stuff in elementary, and there were some guys I got along with well in middle school. But when it comes to actually being a couple, I see. Poor girl's first boyfriend is gonna be me of all people. Hey, what's with the look of pity? It's not like you have any experience either, right? Nope, none whatsoever. Aside from the playdates Sayori and I had as kids, romantic relationships are completely foreign to me. Then that makes us even. Wait, playdates with Sayori? Yeah? You mentioned it too, right? You mentioned it too, remember? About the pretend stuff in elementary school? Well, yeah, but it's not like I still know any of those people. Are you thinking there might be more to our relationship than just long-time friends? How could anyone who knows you not think that? We've said this before, but you really do act like an old married couple. Oh, getting jealous already? Surely that's got to be some kind of record. I am not! Tell me, what is it about our interaction that makes it seem like we're together? I don't know. You're always all over each other, and the way you talk when she's around... Yeah. It's less robotic than normal. So if the two of us started behaving in a similar manner, would we appear more as a couple? Are you telling me to be all over you? I wouldn't complain, but that's not exactly what I was going for. What about right now? Do you still think my demeanor is robotic when we talk to each other? Well, maybe not as much as when we first met, but it's definitely not the same as when you talk to Sayori. And I get that the two of you have known each other for a long time, so I'm not expecting to be treated the exact same way. It's just, you're jealous. I already said I wasn't! No, that's true. But honestly, it's never been one of your strong points. It wouldn't be a problem if you weren't so bad at picking up on hints. So everything's still my fault in the end, huh? And I'm not a detective, you know, but I'm the kind of guy who doesn't understand things unless he's told directly. Now duh, you think we all call you dense just for that? Little twerp. What did you call me? Realizing we're only straying further and further off track, I try resetting the conversation. Putting our personality clash aside for the moment, I'm still looking for an answer. An answer to what? How I'm supposed to act when we're together? Should we stick with business as usual or aim for something closer to what you'd see in the media? She spends a while thinking this over, but is ultimately unable to come up with an answer. What about you? What do you think we should do? This kind of stuff is practically hieroglyphics to me, remember? That said, I'm not against the idea of just going through the motions until we're able to figure something out. Our time together the way we are now is genuinely enjoyable to me, even if it is mostly arguing and rebuttals. She averts her gaze in embarrassment. Me too. Now, you really are cuter when you're honest. Shut up! I'm trying my best here! She pouts for a few seconds before continuing. That might be a good idea though. I've thought about this a bunch before, but when you actually start talking about it out loud, it's hard to put into words. She nods. I understand the feeling, but still, to think you've spent time thinking about me, I'm honored. Huh? Don't get a big head over it. I never said I was thinking anything good. Yeah, fair point. I watch with a grin as she continues acting flustered. The two of us spent several minutes brainstorming in the living room about how best to handle our new situation, but eventually take a break after failing to come up with any concrete ideas. It's also grown quite late, with Natsuki declaring she'll need to head home soon. A thought crosses my mind as we're returning to the front door. What should we do about the others? Huh? You mean everyone in the club? Yeah, I was wondering how we should go ahead and tell them. Even if we don't, Monika and Sayori are bound to notice something is different about us eventually. Oh, right. Clearly understanding how this news could affect the club's atmosphere and dynamic, Natsuki hesitates. This isn't much of a solution, but perhaps we should wait and see if any good opportunities present themselves. Let's go with that for now. She slips on her shoes before glancing at me from the corner of her eye. See you soon, Mark. I'll count the minutes. Dummy. Following a wholesome exchange and some quick goodbyes, I'm left alone once more. Well, that certainly didn't go as planned. It's true Natsuki has been on my mind a lot recently, and our time together is enjoyable, but throwing myself headfirst into a relationship it was definitely reckless. This seemed like the best option at the time, but when you consider how little we actually know about each other... No, I shouldn't overanalyze it. For now, all I can do is play my part and see where things lead. A few days later. Alright, I'll end it off here. Hope you almost enjoyed it. Click the like button if you did. Subscribe to join the Roman army, and I'll see you in the next one. See you later, Romans. Valete.